The VA disability claims process is stressful. I know it is. However, you can alleviate some of that stress when you're going through the VA claims process by doing the following steps. Hey, tune in. Let's get into it. Step one. So step one, you're going to need to increase your current understanding of the VA disability claims process. You do that by, okay, first, how many claims do you plan on filing? 1 or 10? And then you definitely need to jump in to the Code of Federal Regulation, or the CFR 38, and see the criteria on that specific disability or 10 disabilities, depending on how much do you plan on submitting for that claim. Each VA disability has a criteria for rating purposes. And the basic criteria for almost any disability is going to be a diagnosis, a severity of symptoms with a little bit of medical evidence. That's it, to get service connection. To go beyond that, VA claims do not get much further, and after you submit it, they may get immediately denied if your claim does not have at least a diagnosis and some continuity of medical evidence. Once a quarter, every couple of months, things of this nature. Yes, third, we gotta understand that medical evidence sometimes comes in the form of an actual diagnosis. Symptom history is what the VA is really looking for with your primary care provider or with a VA medical staff doctor. As well as if that doctor is willing to fill out a disability benefits questionnaire, DBQ, or provide you with a nexus letter or an independent medical opinion, sometimes called an IMO. After that, personal buddy statements. Your personal statement is going to provide your personal first-hand account of how you occurred that disability and how it's been affecting you on a daily basis since occurring it during your active duty time period. Buddy statements or lay statements is pretty much an eyewitness testimony of a veteran, fellow veteran, still active duty, friends, family, spouse, kids, the VA, an eyewitness, someone else's perspective on how you've been dealing with that disability on a daily basis since you separated from the military, as well as for some of those veterans and family members who were there with you when you first incurred the disability. How was your military life after getting that disability? It's all steps. Then we got step 2 is choose whether you want to file your VA disability claim with a veteran service officer or without one. I recommend all veterans, if you're higher than 50 or 60%, mainly 60%, if you got a VA disability rating of 60% or higher, I recommend you get with a VSO, Veteran Service Officer. That has access to VBMS. There's not a lot, county VSOs don't have, anyways. But a VSO with that access is going to give you a plus up whenever you go into the claims process. You're going to and from the compensation and pension exams. It's going to allow that VSO to go into the system following that exam or whenever that examiner submit that DBQ and or IMO to the VA rater. They'll be able to take it off, make sure, okay, is this VA disability claim going to yield service connection? Is it going to lead to, secondary VA disability benefits? Is it going to be an increase? Things of this nature. And especially for those veterans who don't understand the VA disability claims process, I 100% recommend that you get with a VSO, accredited claims agent, one of the two. Because going into the claims process, just looking at YouTube videos, buddy of yours said, hey, go file this VA disability claim, you may not like the result in which you get. You may get denied. You may get, service connection, but at a 0%, and then you're expecting, 70% or higher for a claim, especially for some of these high value secondary VA claims. Hey, definitely got to do your homework, especially if you're going to be doing it alone. You got to understand the process. Step 3, we got prepare for the compensation and pension exam. You do this by reviewing the disability benefits questionnaire, in which is going to be filled out by that CMP examiner whenever you come in. Review it. Review what questions will be asked, how they will be asked, and what type of answers, responses are you planning on giving to the VA examiner. Keep in mind, especially for most disabilities, you want to take into account the severity of symptoms, impacts to your personal and your work life. Hey, maintain that. That's the trifecta. Don't let anyone else tell you anything crazy and shit. As well, if it's a direct claim, make sure you start talking about the time in your active duty time period in which that disability or injury first started and cured. If it's a secondary VA claim, especially for those high value secondary VA claims, you definitely want to make sure that you're not talking about anything from your active duty time. You want to talk about in which, unless that secondary started during active duty time, you want to talk about when did this secondary disability in which you're filing for causation began. So like if you're PTSD, you're service connected for PTSD, you started taking a medication, and the medication is causing you to stress eat, which is causing you to gain weight. Both of those is a direct correlation for sleep apnea. So those veterans who are, service connected for PTSD, they're trying to plus up their VA disability compensation. That could be a route if it applies to you. Take the medication. Okay, hey, been taking the medication for the last 6 months. In the last 6 months, you've gained 40 to 50 pounds. And in turn, now you have sleep apnea. You go in, you get a sleep study. Yes, it's determined. You got a diagnosis now, as well as the required use of a CPAP machine, which is what the VA looks at for, service connection of sleep apnea at the 50% rating. If you have daytime sleepiness or any other symptoms of sleep apnea, you can do the latter of the percentages, 0, 10, 30% for sleep apnea. But a lot of veterans like to push that 50 because it's a high value secondary VA disability claim. And step 4, relax. If you've done everything that, I've taught y'all, I preach, you go into the VA disability claims process with a diagnosis, with some sufficient medical evidence that shows a continuity of care, not 10-year lapse, anything like that. No, you've been going to your doctor on a routine basis. You got severity of symptoms noted and documented in your medical record. If not, you definitely need to capture that in a personal statement, as well as in buddy statements, or as well as in lay statements. If you've done all of this, you have all of this in your claim, you submit it, you go into your compensation and pension exam, you blow it out the water, you're good in a good way, not a bad way, not you go in there, it's only a 5-minute exam. No, you go in there and it's, 30, 45 minutes, an hour. You having some actual dialogue with that compensation and pension examiner. They're writing everything down specifically to the DBQ, not some, sticky notes they're going to lose later. Definitely, whenever y'all go into that claim, that compensation and P exam, that C&P exam, make sure you dominate it. Like, hey, I'm not having a good day. If I was, I wouldn't be here, and I would already have my benefits. Give me benefits, baby. You know what I'm talking about? But hey, you're doing good. You're good. You're doing great. You're doing great in the VA disability claims process. And in the event in which that claim is denied, I assure you, you should have more than ample amount of medical evidence, everything in your claim for a higher level review. And more than likely, at the higher level review, that experienced VA rater, they're gonna either send you back to a C&P exam to see what happened, or render a percentage and service connection at that point. Whenever you go into that that phone call, in person, whatever the case may be, definitely things to take note of. But hey, y'all like the type of content? I have been going live on YouTube more often. Live sessions have been great. Veterans have been talking, asking questions. We got good dialogue during the live sessions. Check out a live one time, or check out the histories in my podcast. Got the live sessions specifically in a podcast playlist. Check them out. The live chats, they come online, I believe, somewhere between, it depends on the length of the video, but anywhere between 12 and 24 hours. 24 hours at best. But if you want to see all the dialogue, as it's happening, usually I go live, around 11 a.m., whatever the case may be. But I do set up notifications when I do plan on going live. And if that's something y'all want to partake in, by all means, Hit the notification, join the live, ask any questions. If you got any specific questions on the VA disability claims process, anything on the high value secondary VA claims, VA Pact Act 2022, hey, let your boy know. Let's get it. 2023 year to vet. This my fuck Evo out. Hey, stay Gucci with it.